Hello, good to see you. Lovely to be out here on this beautiful summer day. Let me show you the world. I started here on purpose. I mean, this bed's actually sort of finishing, but you know, there's still plenty of things to enjoy. Look at this, the last sort of perfect lily flower. Even just the way that, you know, I stand here for a minute and watch the thing just kind of bob in the breeze. I love that. And here is the massive, amazing Lilium regale. It's just glorious. I'm sorry there's no smell-o-vision, but look at that. It just glows. If I come back, you can see there's a whole lot. It's just like, you know, the classical angel trumpets where they had all these golden trumpets and they met in the middle. Well, I think it was inspired by this flower. And you can see there are lots more of those coming, right? They're tall. I mean, that thing, if I stood it up straight, that one there, it would probably be almost as tall as me because I'm a shorty. Now this, I want you to see. It's just beautiful. This is my mother's gladiolus. It's a crossbreed between a species and some other fleshy one, and it ended up like this, and I just love it. It's so elegant. And it always falls down, of course, and you have to pick it up to really enjoy it. But look at that beautiful shape. It's just the most gorgeous thing, really. And it reminds me of her, and I like that because she's passed on. And, you know, look at the pinky colour on the outside of these buds. It is just beautiful watching these flowers in these stages. And look at the bright yellow calendula. It's so yummy. Little flies buzzing around. And you know, I appreciate the insects because, well, you know, they pollinate things. And I know I can see some beautiful beings join me. I'm so glad to see you. And look at this sedum. Look, I got to show you. It got all broken off. It was much bigger and it got broken off by gales and it gets eaten by snails. No rhyme intended. But isn't the colour fabulous? And if you put it next to that yellow, it's just a wonderful contrast, and that's why I put it there. And the feverfew is still going strong. It's pretty bright in the bright sunlight. Little daisies, bright yellow centres. There's a teeny tiny insect crawling on the one that's right in the middle of the screen. Don't know if you can see it. But you know, this is getting scruffy. It's starting to finish now. And just let me show you the rest of the garden. It's a very bright sunny day. Look at the clouds just drifting over. It's a really nice breeze. It's not boilingly hot and it's not cold. It's just the best of Wellington. Look at the dahlias. They're very bright and fresh. I just enjoy watching them nod in the breeze. It's gentle, it's soothing somehow. And let's go up and look at the cilantro because it's gone bananas. Look at this. It's just so much of these. Whoops, trod on something. Oh, my shadow's in the way. But look at this. Aren't they beautiful? That's coriander. And when it's in flower, it's just glorious. And here is the aucuba, looking remarkably wind-burnt actually. I don't know what's made the ends of the leaves turn black like this. It's quite spectacular. It's quite gorgeous, but it's a bit unusual. Don't know what the deal is there. Unless the bush, you got me curious now. No, it's not all covered in a fungal disease. It's actually very healthy under there. I don't know if you can see. All the stems are nice and green. If the bush is unhealthy, if it doesn't get enough ventilation, then it goes black. So that's just really interesting. It could just be a bit of sunburn. You know, we had rain, and then if you have sun too soon and the foliage is soft because these leaves are a bit young, maybe they got burned. So we've still got bright colours in here, and we've still got roses. And I just love this little area of the garden. It's still scruffy. I've still got work to do in here. There hasn't been time. But everything is just really beautiful. And look at the white meadow rue. I love this. And we've got these bright, bright, bright fuchsia flowers and the wonderful leaves with all their different colours and shapes and textures. I only planted this a few weeks ago, but it's just gone boom as I expected it to do. And here's a rose for you. This is Compassion. Fabulous. It's got a beautiful scent as well, but you'll just have to imagine that. So this is the garden. The fuchsia is flowering. Love how these flowers dangle in the breeze. And with any luck, the other fuchsia will be flowering as well. Oh look, we've got a moth down here. It's a bit damaged, but isn't it fabulous all the same? I see these little things, I have to stop and look. So here we are, this is the fuchsia I moved. And it's also flowering. The fuchsias like the shade. Oh, and somehow I've picked up a little spider, but I want that off my phone, thank you, jump off, because I don't want to take it inside, I won't be very happy there. Alright, hello beautiful being, it's great to see you on. I'm just about to go inside, but enjoying this shady corner on what is otherwise quite a bright shiny day. So there's the sky, and you can just see what the tree's doing, and I love how the leaves move. Oh, and the last thing, absolute last thing, she says stopping to pick something up, is these lilies, because probably next week they really won't look like much, but aren't they fabulous? They're so bright. So if you've only just got on, because my beloved husband, you know, I go live and then he shares the live out into the groups, and it probably takes a few minutes to propagate out around the world. So that's also why I do this why I do the garden tour, because it gives people a chance to see that I'm online. And so you can go back and watch the garden tour later if you missed that part, because I think that's just what happens. But it's lovely to be able to share it with you. I'm going to go inside now and tell you what I've done this morning. So, just hop on into the lounge, take off my hat, my trusty Sunday afternoon hat, which is so good. I use it in my walking meditations. It just keeps the sun off me. It's really, really nice. So now, hopefully, I can put this down and I'll look like the world is not tilted. Okay, that's better. So, here I am inside, and now, my little notepad in hand, I'm going to tell you what I did today. Today was actually pretty cool. I had a clean run, I didn't have distractions, I started on time, you know, it was really nice, and that's cool when that happens. It doesn't always happen like that, but it was great today. So, today, again, I started where I was. You know, we're unpacking this question of emotional addiction. What the hell is that? And by that I mean what's happening in our body. Because, you know, sooner or later you think, my God, I feel like crap all the time. I want to feel differently. And so you decide to feel differently. And, you know, you sort of manage that for a little while, and then something happens and kapow, you're straight back to where you were. It's like, man, I really want to feel different, but this is so hard. Why is it so hard for me to feel differently, even though I want to? So I'm unpacking this finally. I've been wanting to get to this for months, if not years. But finally, you know, I've laid the foundation and the stuff that I've already written. And this is the next piece to go on this website to explain this to people. This is the God on Me website project, is to make this information available to people who might never have access to it ever, because they don't have a credit card, they don't have papers, they can't access even a $5 thing, you know, they don't have the ability to pay for it, never mind that they don't have money. So this is my passion, is to take what I have learned and put it in a very simple way, but which is still as scientifically true as I know how to make it, because that's really important to me, to put that on a website and to share that with people and have it supported by people who can afford $5 a month, or, you know, whatever it is. I'm determined that it will be a low, it's for lots of people, so it doesn't need to be massive amounts of money every month, but it needs to be paid so that eventually I'll be able to supply it to places that can't pay for nothing. That is the vision. And it starts with writing the content for the website, so that's what I'm doing. And the question that it would have been amazing for me to understand this more than 4 years ago, but hey, I started to learn, I started to understand 4.5 years, nearly 5 years ago now, is that it is actually possible for me to change how I feel, and I did not know that. I just thought that I felt like crap, and because it was too hard. How do you do it? It feels so bad when you try to feel better. All that. So now I'm explaining why, and I've sort of understood it because I've read and I've learned and I've observed my own experience and all of that stuff. But I tell you, when you're explaining it the way that I'm trying to explain it now, or any time you try to explain something to somebody else, you get a whole new level of appreciation and depth of understanding of what it is you're explaining, because you have to in order to be able to explain it. So I kind of had an oh my God moment or 5 this morning. Maybe it was because I was listening to some really powerful music while I was doing it, but it was just like, oh my God, it just moved me to tears. So I started by picking up where I left off, and in fact, where I left off was a place of, I just need to revise what we already know before I add some more. And so where I started was, okay, we think a thought, we make some chemicals, and those chemicals are neurotransmitters. Hello, sweetie! Those chemicals are neurotransmitters, and they help our thoughts jump from neuron to neuron, and we need those. But there's another job, which I haven't talked about before, that neurotransmitters do. And what neurotransmitters do, as well as moving our thoughts from neuron to neuron inside our brain, is they send messages to our chemical brain, our survival brain, and those messages get our chemical brain to whip up batches of things called peptides, which I haven't mentioned before. And the peptides are the ultimate mind-body connection. The peptides go from our brain to our body, and they tell our brain how to feel, what to do, how to cope with whatever we're facing, whatever it is. They make our body go, basically. So our neurotransmitters do 2 jobs. And they really are, they lead to the peptides, which I looked this up because I just happened to be reading Joe Dispenza's first book, which is called Evolve Your Brain, and it's got a lot of neuroscience in it, which I really like, but you probably wouldn't start with that one. It fills in gaps when you've read the other 3. So the peptides, they do about 95% of all the stuff of making stuff happen. Hi, Bernadette. Bless you. Have a wonderful time. Whatever we're doing right now. It's great to see you. So these peptides do most of the signaling from our brain to our body. 95%, according to what I read in Joe's book. maybe the number's been revised, but it'll be somewhere around there. And that's a lot. Okay? So the oh my God was, okay, we think a thought, we make neurotransmitters, okay? We make neurotransmitters, the neurotransmitters make the chemical brain manufacture peptides. And the peptides go to our body, and they tell our body what to do, how to run, how to be. And of course, that chemical signal is either going to be one of 2. It's going to be something in creation mode, where you're resting, you're digesting, you're creating, you're relating with people, you're loving, you're trusting, your heart is open, you're feeling good, you're feeling safe in your world. Or that's one set of messages, and the other set of messages can be, there is a threat. So you go into survival. And then you don't trust anybody. All you've got the energy and the attention and whatever to do is to run, to fight, or to hide. That is it. So our thoughts become neurotransmitters, become peptides, and tell our body whether to be in survival or whether to be in creation. Every single thought we have, and we think all day. And I wrote this down, and then I actually wrote a little bit. Then I kind of went, I had this oh my God moment, and I called it reality check. It's like, What on earth are we thinking about over and over and over all day long? Whatever the answer is to that, our cells get that chemistry all day long. If it's the chemistry of, like, if you're constantly judging somebody, every time you have a judgmental thought, judgmental chemistry goes to your body. And the thing that I haven't yet unpacked in my writing is that, the peptides, they go to the cell, we'll talk about this shortly, and they signal receptors on the cells. And what I haven't explained yet is the receptors go into the nucleus, and that affects the DNA that gets manufactured to make your body run. So if you're constantly sending judgmental chemistry, just to use an example, if I'm doing that, well, then my body gets judgmental chemicals over and over and over again, and it will over time actually change the expression of the DNA, which is going to affect how my body runs and whether it's strong or healthy or not. And it was just this, oh my God, this is every moment, every single thought. And so, judgmental thought, judgmental chemistry, judgmental thought, judgmental chemistry. Works the other way too. If we love somebody, or we do something that's loving for ourselves, if we've had feelings of love, for example, you immediately get love chemistry. It's not delayed. There is no body up in heaven or anywhere making some big tally sheet about whether you're going to be rewarded or punished in your life. It happens instantly. And I knew this already. But when I was writing about it, it just hit me like a thunderbolt. It's like, oh my God. There really is, that's karma and it's instant. So if you think, if you hurt someone else and it's like because of mirror neurons, I talked about that last week or the week before, I have these characters that my husband and I are working together to work out what they look like. And they're prehistoric, a little bit at least. And I'm going to use them whenever I need to tell a story or illustrate a story with words and pictures about something that is more or less traumatic, right? Difficult. Because I don't want people, when you take anything in media, you experience it because you think the thoughts, you have the chemistry. So I don't want it to be too real to people because people have enough trauma and whatever going on in their life anyway, a lot of us. So I don't want to add to it. So this is very real and very direct in every thought we think, everything we react to, everything we experience, every person, every place, everything, every time, everyone. We have a thought about it and we get chemistry. And it's instant and it's ongoing. And it changes how our body works. And it just overwhelmed me. It's like, oh my God, there is no punishment out there except that it arrives instantly. As soon as we think a thought, have a feeling, it's instant. It just, beep, beep, it's there. And it was just it was a huge, oh my God. Even though I already knew, it was like I viscerally got it deeper. It just hit me really hard. So then I thought, okay, so peptides are these cells, they're not cells, they're chemicals that are made in our brain. And I think they might be made elsewhere in the body. I'm pretty sure that they are, but I'm not sure about that because I haven't read the book recently enough to remember. But then what happens, okay? Because I'm talking about what happens, how it is that we can become chemically addicted. Our bodies can become chemically addicted to our negative thoughts. How can that happen? What happens? Okay, so we have neurotransmitters. We think a thought, we have neurotransmitters, we make peptides. What happens then? Oh, the peptides dock into a receptor on a cell. And I know I've talked about this a bit, and cells have receptors in the peptides and the chemicals, which are peptides a lot of the time, dock into the receptor, and then they go in and they do stuff with the DNA, and the DNA makes things that used to fix our body or make it work or whatever. But then I thought, oh shit, how do I explain a receptor site? And again, I'm thinking globally. And I want to use something that I think everybody can relate to. Now, already once in my writing, I have chosen to use an example of a spaceship in outer space because it just served me best to tell the story of what I did. So I am making a guess that most people will not be confused by the concept of a spaceship and aliens and whatever. I mean, there's no aliens in this case. I populated the ship with humans. But the point is that I couldn't think of anything else that would really serve what I wanted to tell. And so here's the story, which I wrote. And I looked at it and thought, my God, this is really good. This makes sense. Because, and it's only superficial biochemistry that I know. I can't tell you all the chemical reactions and all the detail, but I know what actually happens practically at a cellular level. So I thought, I want to explain this. So you imagine a spaceship, right? A big spaceship. It's like a colony spaceship. It's enormous. And it's out in space, and there's a whole fleet of them. So this is an analogy for the cell, right? Your cell is a lot like a spaceship. It's got a hull, it's got a border, and there's stuff inside it that does things. Just being really simple. And there, on the spaceship, there's a whole crew, there's families, there's everything they need to live and work. It's self-contained, like a cell. But on the outside of the spaceship, there are all these docking ports. And I mean, all these docking ports, lots and lots of docking ports. And they all look kind of the same, but actually each one is a little bit different. And if you sort of zoom in and go closer to the spaceship, you can see that there are lots and lots of shuttles going to and from. There's other ships in the fleet that aren't very far away, or there's planets or whatever. The shuttles are going in between the other ships in the fleet and other planets and other places in the near vicinity, and some of them further. So, there's communication, right? There's things going backwards and forwards. That was the idea I want to communicate. Now, the thing is, there are a ton of shuttles, and there are a ton of these ports, and they all look the same, but they're all slightly different. So how does the poor pilot find the right port? Well, it's actually really cool. The pilot doesn't have to really do anything except sort of swim around in locality, because the ports have a scanning device, and they're always kind of going blip, blip, blip. Where's the frequency, which the ship puts out, and I realise I haven't put that. Whereas there's a frequency signal that each little shuttle uniquely emits, and the docking station is scanning for that frequency. When it finds a match, it doesn't go, aha, I found a match. It does more than that. The shuttle's got to be sort of close enough, but then it actually puts out a little tractor beam, and it gently draws the shuttle in towards the docking port. So it's like the pilot doesn't have to do anything except sort of be around and be close. So the docking port scans, makes the match, says, oh, there's the thing I'm looking for, and it actually pulls it in. And if the wrong shuttle actually comes too close to the port stays shut. It's got doors, if you like. It's only the right shuttle when it comes to that port that the doors will open and the shuttle can move in. And once the shuttle's in there, the port actually changes some more. It changes shape, and it adapts to fit with that shuttle so perfectly. And I think actually, in terms of what happens in the cell, the shuttle itself also changes shape. It's like there's this whole thing that changes so that the thing that's coming in fits with the thing that's receiving it. It's not static. It's not really a lock and key. It's all about frequency and something that moves. It's more like a combination lock. But even that's not fluid enough. It's alive. So the receptor opens up and it changes shape, and the shuttle, the peptide, docks in. And it docks in so well that it's like they become the same thing. So the story I tell with the shuttle is that, the doors open and the crew can walk out of that shuttle and through the connection and into the ship like it's just the next room. They don't need spacesuits, they don't need an airlock, there's nothing. It's just that the connection is perfect. And so this crew has a set of orders that need to be sent to a factory part of the ship. Guess what? The DNA. So they rush it, they just trot off to the factory, and they deliver the order, which is immediately filled, and the order contains instructions to send, and it's for spare parts that need to be sent out to other ships in the galaxy and shuttles and things. They're used widely everywhere. And the order contains instructions for where they're to be sent. So the order is filled immediately, and it's pushed out to the distribution part of the ship to be sent where the requirement is.
that shuttle crew, their job is done. They leave the factory, they go back to the shuttle, they fire up the engines, they leave the docking port, the doors close, the docking port resets and starts scanning again for the next shuttle. That's literally what works in our receptors. Billions and billions of times every second. I mean, mind blowing. All in response to our thoughts. So it's just crazy how our bodies work. G'day, beautiful being. It's lovely to see you. I know I'm running out of time, but I've just got overwhelmed and overtaken by the incredible majesty of what happens inside our bodies and how powerful we are. Because our thoughts, you have a thought, it's something ephemeral, it's something you can't touch, you can't poke it, it's nothing. And you have a thought and it's this electrical charge that travels through your neurons. And then because it's a charge and it carries a frequency, right? The frequency of that thought, whatever it is, high or low or in between, determines what neurotransmitters get used to push that thought or to jump that thought across the synapse to the next neuron and the next one and the next one and all the other thousands, millions, however many else that you use. That frequency determines the neurotransmitters, and those neurotransmitters determine the peptides that go to your cells, that hit the receptors, that make the whole thing open up, sends a signal to your DNA, and then regulates how your body gets to run. It's mind-blowing. And there's a whole other piece. G'day, gorgeous. Hi, Robin. There's a whole other piece that I drafted, but haven't yet. And I'm probably going to have to redraft it because I used one story, and I think I'm going to have to rewrite it to use the spaceship story that I've just been using. There's a whole story about how those receptors, those docking ports, can change. If there's too many or too few of the peptides of a particular emotion, the outside of the cell adapts. So I've started to unpack that. But, and I thought I would be doing more of that today, but then I realised there are all these steps I'd missed. So today I have explained the function of peptides. I haven't actually explained peptides themselves, but I don't want to go there because it gets into biochemistry, and I don't know about biochemistry. All we need to know is that our thoughts become neurotransmitters, become peptides, and those peptides give us the feelings and change how our DNA works. And, so I've explained the function of peptides because that's how our brain controls our body 95% of the time. And then I've talked about this new concept of how it is that a peptide can dock into a receptor on a cell. And it's a really key concept. And I also think it's really cool. Carrie, it's you. Lovely to see you. Yeah, internal negative talk. I know what you mean. But maybe you understand a little bit how it can feel so difficult to change it because your cells, and this is probably what I'll be talking about in more detail next week, but also wind back to last week's live because you'll find some stuff about this. Our cells actually change depending on what we think about the most. And then if we decide that we want to think differently, it might have taken 6 months or 6 years, or for some people 6 decades, to make our cells, the docking ports, they change. It might have taken a long time for us to make our docking ports the way they are right now. So if we understand that it's going to take some time, probably not as long if we have the right tools, but it's going to take some time to change our docking ports back to how they should be so it's easier to think better thoughts, then that's helpful. It's empowering. And Carrie, if you haven't said it, but you're probably thinking it's like, well, how do I do this? I'm not talking about solutions right now. I'm talking about understanding the problem, because I found it so empowering when I understood the problem. And yeah, I was working on solutions. And the very short answer, which is what I still use every day, is go and check out the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza. Look him up on YouTube and start with the testimonials, Joe Dispenza testimonials, and you will see what is possible. This is not a quick fix, but it does work, and there's really powerful science behind it to explain it. And this is what I've learned and what it's become my passion to explain to other people very simply in the way that I understand it, and to make it available to audiences that cannot afford to pay or simply don't even have a credit card. Because there's lots of people like that, and they need this information too, because their lives are often much more difficult than mine. So, yeah, there is hope, Carrie. We really can change. And I can say that because when I started learning, you got to learn, you got to understand, and you got to know how. This guy, he says, this is a time in history not just to know. It's a time in history to know how. And I totally agree with that. Because, all the spiritual stuff that people say, it's like, oh, that's great. Elevate your emotions and feel better and raise your frequency. How? Please, will somebody tell me how? Well, he showed me how. So I encourage you to do that. And also, if you would like to, please check me out on Patreon. This is a journey that we're on. We're building a website together. Because all of this that I'm writing and creating is going on a website, and there are pictures. You will see the pictures that my husband and I have been looking at and thinking, how are we going to represent these characters? And like the story of the spaceship that I just told, he's going to illustrate that. So I invite you to get involved. Follow the journey however you like. You can follow for free, or you can support me and the project for $5 US a month. And you can ask questions and comment on the posts and ask me to talk about this. Sometimes I just go on and record a video and upload it to my private YouTube link thing, so that my patrons can hear what I think about stuff. Yeah. So there's a ton of stuff, Carrie. If you wish, drop me a DM. I'll remember to look in my messages requests, and I'll send you some links. But yeah, you see, I've never lived on disability, but I absolutely know what it's like to feel really financially limited. And not everybody, but people can generally carve out $5 a month if they have it. And if you can't, I want there to be enough that's available for free so that you have the ability to change something in your life. Because it's absolutely possible, and people have come back from very difficult situations doing this work. So, I'm over time. It's lovely to have you here. Remember that you are creating yourself with every thought you think. If you were going to read one book, it would be Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. It's very, very useful. Yep, lots of people have come back from that kind of situation, Carrie, so don't be put off. I can send you some links to people who have been exactly where you are. It's possible to change, but it all starts with us. It's a big challenge. It's a journey. It's climbing a mountain inside yourself. And I know because I'm doing it. So, big love. I'll be back in another week. And thank you so much for joining me. I so enjoy seeing your comments and being able to respond to you. And if you're on YouTube, thank you for watching. Do feel free to like, share, and subscribe. I look forward to being back again next week. Until then, bye-bye.